This is my first Stanley Kubrick film I've ever watched, and wow, you guys really picked a very unsettling film for me to check out of his catalog. But is it a masterpiece like it's heralded? Is it any good? Well, that's what me and you will try to figure out by the end of this review as I break down the good and the bad of A Clockwork Orange. In the England of the future, Alex and his Droogs spend their nights getting high at the Korova Milkbar. They embark on while jauntily warbling, singing in the rain. After he's jailed for bludgeoning the cat lady to death, Alex admits to behavior modification techniques to earn his freedom. He's conditioned to abhor to violence, return to the world defenseless. Alex becomes the victim of his prior victims. The themes of this movie, The Clockwork Orange, is abundant. So much different things the movie is talking about at the same time, but the three main themes that they talk about is split up between the main three acts. In Act 1, nature is the first theme. This is Alex and his friends, who he calls the Droogs, running amok amongst a futuristic England where the government has lost complete control of the crime rate. People are scared and fear for their lives, and Alex and his friends are taking advantage of it. They're committing different crazy acts of violence, sexual violence, robbery, and theft. So many different things that they're doing that they're getting away with, and just eating off of it, just having so much fun and loving and feeling it's a part of nature and art. And this is what our main character's natural state is. This is who he is, and this is what he loves. He feels like this is a beautiful thing. This thing is a work of art. This is what gives him life and makes life worth living, what he calls
bit of the old ultraviolence.
And after the first time he said that, I laughed so hard immediately, because as soon as he did that, I associated him with the creepy dude from Courage the Cowardly Dog.
His bangs, they sang. His neck, it beckoned. Eyebrows, armpits, all were reckoned. Soon I figured, what the heck, and guess how I was naughty.
The one aspect that's very interesting is that Alex didn't struggle here. A lot of movies, when they talk about people who commit violence or robbery or theft, it's people who do not have. So that's their only choice, they feel like, or they're lower class and poor, so they have to do it. But Alex actually was living a decent life. His parents weren't abusive. They were there in his life and trying to help him do better. He had supervision from the outside as well, but his natural nature was to cause chaos, and so was his friends. They would attack defenseless women, homeless people. There's one scene where they attack people around their age that can actually defend themselves, but for the most part throughout the film they committed atrocities to people who cannot defend themselves. And going into the second act, the second theme comes in, and that's reform. So Alex and his Droogs, after getting into a tiff, basically who's the leader and who's supposed to be leading and what rules are we gonna abide by, they try to rob this cat lady who's by herself in her house with a bunch of cats. Once again, a defenseless person, and Alex kills the cat lady with the most ridiculous thing I ever seen in my life. But it happens, but then he gets set up by his Droogs, who's tired of his abusive behavior and leaves him there for the cops. So he goes to jail, and he goes through different types of structures, multiple structures on different level. The jail trying to restructure him in the way that, or reform him in the way that they see fit. Then there's the priest trying to restructure him and conform him into the way that he sees, and then the government as well. When it comes to the jail, they're trying to teach him how to be proper, stand behind the line, say sir, stand up a certain way, walk a certain way. And it's this one guy who I think they purposely made kind of look like a Hitler kind of type, like a Nazi Germany soldier kind of type, that barked orders and was really loud. And anytime he felt like Alex was lying or not being 100% truthful, he would call him out, and always wanted him to be very rigid, trying to get this chaotic person to get into a rigid regiment. And then there was the priest, who you could see that was trying really hard to help these criminals, but you could see within them there was a lot of mischief going on, and he's really started portraying to Alex, because Alex seemed like he was changing. He was reading the Bible, he's quoting it, and this one thing that I thought that was really crazy is just the fact that you know the Bible from front to back, you can even quote it, doesn't mean you're still a bad person or you change, because Alex in the movie was doing these things, but in his head, he was still thinking about the ultraviolence. He was still thinking about doing bad things. He was just a front for him to maybe get out earlier or have an easier time or be protected by the priest. And I thought that was very interesting. And then the third part of this reform that they were trying to do was the government stepping in, and the minister is trying to get the trust of the people. So he's trying a new experiment that will help change criminals forever and stop them from being violent vagabonds. And this was really interesting because throughout history we've seen governments try to experiment on people, trying to change how they are to fit what society deems normal. And this was just another one of those things. He was doing it not to help Alex and really reform him and get to the core of the problem. It was to prove to everyone that prison reform can work with what they found. And this is an expensive tool that they found. And with Alex desperate to get out of jail, he just wants to go home. He doesn't want to be there anymore. He is, once again, rigid rules that he has to go by, that he can't act out, he can't be his way. And it kind of shows the fact that the world has no rules. It's so chaotic. There's no real oversight. So that's why these things are happening. But he's in jail where there is rules and rigid, and he hates it. He subjects himself to the experiments. They're complete, utter, inhumane torture. And throughout that part, I was like, he kind of deserves this. After seeing what he was doing throughout Act 1 and how much he didn't care. He didn't feel for the people that he did things to. So I didn't feel bad for him when they were torturing him and doing all these things. And this experiment makes him feel sick when he's trying to do anything that goes towards what he used to do before. If he's trying to be violent to someone, if he's feeling sexual feelings, and it doesn't fix him. It just makes him defenseless and not able to do certain things because he feels like he is going to die with the feeling that he's feeling. So honestly, I think that touches on a lot of things that goes on in the world as well, and I thought that was brilliant. And this goes into a sub theme of this section, and what is free will? Is it free will if you only can choose good? Is it free will if someone takes away your ability to do bad, even though you want to? It's not. And even though this person, the free will they have, they want to do bad things with it, is it okay to just take their free will from them? Or is it something else that you have to get to the root of the problem? Science, a lot of times, is seen as a quick fix instead of trying to fix the core culture or societal or religious values that are making these people like this. And this goes into one of my community members' questions where they were asking how I feel about the name of the movie, A Clockwork Orange. It's not referenced in the movie at all. After watching the movie, what I think it's about is the fact that when you look at the title, it's a clockwork orange. Clockwork is mechanic, it's unnatural, it's constructed, has a structure, it's rigid. And orange is something that's very natural. It can be split open, it can go any which way. And when you try to put those two together, you're trying to put a natural thing with an unnatural thing and put it into that rigidness. And that's kind of the theme of this movie. The natural being of Alex being this wild, disgusting murderer, and them trying to put him through this machine, this science, and change him and make him fit what society deems necessary. So that's where I think the title comes from, and I know that's the part that makes sense. That's the way I interpret it. Let me know in the comments below if you interpret it a different way. And once he's released from prison, the third act comes in, and this is the theme of control, because Alex now has to face all the people that he has done crimes to, which was not, the way it was executed wasn't that great in terms of like him just randomly running into every single person that he did crimes to, like it's England's a small place. But I'll say that kind of makes sense because he does seem like throughout the movie he does go to the same places over and over. Him being attacked by the homeless man and their friends after running into him recognizing him and seeing what he did to them. Him running into his old Droogs that are now cops and them assaulting him. And then also, early in the movie, one of the things that him and his Droogs did was go into somebody's house, rob them, and unfortunately they paralyzed one guy and then sexually assaulted their wife. And he stumbles upon that house again, not realizing where he is, and that guy takes the opportunity to torture him. And I think that goes into the fact that these people are in these rigid societies and they're abiding by a lot of the rules, but when they get the opportunity to inflict the same kind of thing that this guy was just doing free willy every night, they did it. And the biggest part is this minister who gave this experiment onto Alex. Now he's in the news saying how inhumane it was. They're calling for his head because Alex attempted to commit suicide after being tortured by the older man. And he's trying to fix things right with the public and his image and trying to gain back control. So he's trying to use Alex and save him from all his atrocities and give him a better life, even though it doesn't fit his nature, just so he can use him as a pawn for the public, so the public can get back on his side. And I think that talks about a lot of the things we see in the real world, where a lot of people who you're like, how is this person still walking around after the things they did? It's because of certain things like that. It's all about the motives and the agendas and things like that. And that all that is theorized, and it speaks on how the world is, but these are not things that we see in everyday life. These are things that government officials and there's different different levels of government go through that comes out way later. we don't find about these things till way later, until we see a documentary about it. So I think that this movie is from 1953, I believe. It's interesting that he was talking about how in the future that a lot of these things are going to happen in England, and it's something that we've seen across the world. And this goes into another sub-theme and also another community member question there that someone asked me about Frisky. His movies, saying about society is saying that if you're not if you are outwardly terrible person, don't fit within society norms or the way people deem society to be, you're going to be deemed undesirable, need to be changed, need to be fixed. But those same people who are infracting those things on those people are also committing them. We see them throughout the film. The priest kind of being sexually suggestive to Alex when he takes him away and tries to talk to him, and that's not what Alex was trying to talk to at all. And then also him having his own agenda and trying to say that no, religion is trying to save Alex when he knows that this boy is not getting better. When we see also the minister obviously being a hypocrite, talking about we need all this reform, we're going to make him a Christian person, but using science in the wrong, most inhumane way to do it, just to get his agenda across and for him to stay in power. We see the doctors in the hospital once he commits suicide doing things that Alex was doing, but doing it in the hospital in unethical ways. His psychiatrist at the end also doing things in unethical ways. And just the cops, the way when they were interrogating him, beating the crap out of him to get the confession. Just these people who are supposed to be upholding these level of society things, but being very unethical about it. I think that's what Stanley Kubrick wanted to talk about, how this person's deemed unethical, not right, but the people who are doing it are also the same, but they're just enacting it in different ways. They have an outlet, which Alex didn't have a proper outlet to get off. From a technical standpoint, this movie is phenomenal. There's so many different things in terms of the set design that is catching my eye every time I'm watching the film. Every room is colorful. Every room has a unique look. You know where you are when you see the certain designs, and is very well good at story building through the environment. There's so many things in the background that I'm pretty sure I never caught just on my first watch, and I don't know if anyone can catch every single little reference in the first watch. One of my favorite things is the little Showtime Jesus statue kind of showing and embodying what this movie's about. Having a statue about the Jesus being nailed to the cross, but him leg being out and kind of look like he's doing Showtime, and it's entertaining. I think that was really prolific for him to have that in his room, that battle of his nature and religion and order and his love for violence. And that's probably one of the most violent acts in the history of man. And also when he goes to that record store, the way the corridors are tight and it's pushing you towards where they want you to go. That's interesting, having these organic natural beings being pushed in a mechanical way towards what they want, to something unnatural. So I think that the set design here, and that's just two examples there, that's really, really good. But the biggest one, because the colors are popping, the cinematography is done well, the set design is great, the costumes are iconic, obviously, but the music is used really, really well. And Beethoven's a big thing in this film throughout, and I think that the biggest thing is the Symphony of Number 5. I believe that's what it's called. that is usually used in films and other works of art to deem danger. And if you notice, anytime the doorbell rang, it was using that symphony. That symphony of the five, and every time the doorbell rang, danger came after. So that was just like a little detail that I thought was awesome in the film. While I appreciated the motifs, the filmmaking, the score, the fashion, the set design, and everything, I gotta say I didn't like any of the characters in this movie. I couldn't emotionally attach to anyone. Everyone was just a terrible person without any redeeming qualities at all. And the movie really was trying to make you feel sympathetic about what they were doing to Alex. But after Act 1 and his attitude throughout the film, I could not feel any sympathy for him at all. I was like, you deserve every single thing you're going through right now because you're a terrible person and you're never going to change. You went through all these different stages of reform and still don't see the error of your ways. He never saw the error of his ways. And at the end of it, ended up getting exactly what he wanted. And which is crazy and blows my mind. And because of that lack of investment in the character, there was many parts of the story. You know, obviously the themes and the motifs are great, but the actual story and the scenes with him, I was very, very bored a lot of the times because I was like, I don't care about this guy. I don't care about his family life. I don't care about him trying to. I think the scene that really caught me off and I was like really bored was when he was returning from jail, going home, and that scene where I feel like they were trying to show like, oh my god, they replaced him with another guy that fits their mold better and they're terrible parents because of that. And I was just like, like, I'm not mad at them for doing that. He did these terrible things under their roof and right under their nose, and they thought he was going to be in jail for 14 years or maybe longer. So they got somebody to rent his room so they could pay for rent because he's not of putting money in their pockets anymore. So that scene was trying to show like, oh my god, he's the pain he's going through because he can't punch this guy and what they did to him. They threw all his stuff out and all these different things. And I was just like, he deserves it. I just could feel no sympathy for this guy at all. I understood what they were doing was wrong to him. It's inhumane, but also felt like, well, you're a piece of shit. So, and getting to my last community question by MTM, he's talked about how this is not his favorite Kubrick film. He's not really a big fan of the film, and why you think that so many people love this film. And I think that the influence and impact of this film is undeniable between fashion, the people recreating other movies. I just realized the slow motion walk that they do in this film is also recreated in Reservoir Dogs, and Quentin Tarantino has talked about using that. And also the fact that, there's a part where Alex is singing in the Rain, which is such a happy song, and he's doing this terrible thing, influenced that part where his character is torturing the cop. So, and that's another movie that people herald a lot. And there's multiple movies, shows, books, and things that take inspiration from this film. So I think that people love it because of that, just the creativity coming from the film, and also what it's talking about. If you are someone that believes we are sheep in a simulation, if the way the world doesn't work, or everyone's fighting against their proper nature and the government is crooked and they're trying to make us all be in this rigid society but also doing things that they tell us not to do, then I would say that this movie is going to be for you. You're going to love it. But for me, I appreciate those themes, and I appreciate standout moments of the film in terms of the set design and the costumes, but the fact that I didn't care about any of the characters, and then it made me really care about what's happening in the main story, hurt my viewing experience for me and made this movie that was 2 hours long feel like 5 hours long. Kind of just this movie that was taking so long to get to the finish line and get to the point and to really feel like what the through line was. So with that said, this is a movie that I'm glad I got to see from a cinephile intellectual level, but it's a movie that I will never willingly watch again. So I'm going to give it a C+. Did you like it? Did you hate it? What would you rate Clockwork Orange? Is it your favorite movie from Stanley Kubrick? Is it your favorite movie all time? Do you feel like me where it's okay, it's not bad, probably not going to watch it again? Or do you hate it? like some people do. It's a very low amount of people hate it, but I know some people do. Let me know all those thoughts down below in the comments. Like the video, get this video popping, let YouTube know you enjoy my review. Attack that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you can be notified for my reviews, reactions, live discussions, and much, much more. And you can watch more content right now.